really excited to present Alison Grun. She is an extremely passionate motorcyclist and business owner, and through her venture, she encourages women to lead the life they want and follow what sets their heart on fire. Welcome, Alison. It's very nice to have you on the show.
Great to be here as well. Thanks for inviting, Lindy.
It is my pleasure. So I think let's start off. And Alison, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a little bit about who is Alison, and then we'll move on to telling the audience a little bit about what is Two Wheels to Free Will.
Sure. So, well, I think you made a pretty straightforward and a good introduction. So, I'm definitely a passionate biker. That's probably what defines me most. I've lived all my life on two wheels and was raised in a biker's family. And on the side, yeah, I used to be a corporate woman, so to speak. Worked in different large corporations as a regional director, and starting my own venture only in 2020. So kind of a new entrepreneur. And I would describe myself here as well as a definitely a strong feminist. I've always been passionate by this topic and feel that we would live in such a better world if women could overcome their self-limiting beliefs and if we had a more inclusive world. So yeah, that's about me.
Wow. So I remember you telling me about you are from France. Am I right?
Yes, it's
Uh-huh.
funny because I always forget to mention about that, and I realize that people always tell me, but you need to precise that. That's part of who you are. Yes, actually, it's part of who I am, definitely. Just from the accent, I think it's definitely part of who I am. Yeah, yeah. I'm indeed from France, from Paris.
Originally from France,
Yes,
from Paris, and you
yeah.
are at the moment in Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
How
I've
did
been
that
living here.
journey start for you?
Well, I mean, I'm an only child, and as I said, my parents are bikers, and I've been very lucky to be taken on tours with them all the time. So I've been a globetrotter from a very young age, so to speak. And when I was 18 years old, I left home to travel the world and do some jobs, and then I did my studies in Manchester in the UK. And then when I got my first corporate job in France, I was always set on working overseas. That has always been an objective for me because I feel that's where I grow most. Because when you're overseas, you're always a little bit out of your comfort zone and you need to adapt and learn so much. And so, yeah, I waited patiently for 5 years until I got that job opportunities within Orange, the group I was working for, offered me that position to come to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to open the rep office of their consulting branch. So that's what led me to Asia in the first place. And that was in 2015. Actually, 2014, I moved to Jakarta, Indonesia first, and then a few months later, opened the rep office in Malaysia. Yeah, and then I had opportunities to go back to France, grow my career, but then I was in love with Malaysia, and I decided to join a smaller company and to stay in Asia. I was just starting to learn how to work in Asia, so I didn't want to go. So yeah.
So, and then you said you started your own business in 2020. So last year. How did that, was that something that you've always dreamt about doing and then kind of just waited for the right opportunity? Or how did you decide to move from corporate world into being a business owner?
So it was not at all a goal for me. It was a little bit, how to say, destiny, so to speak. I wouldn't say that I've always had an entrepreneur mindset in the sense that even in my companies, I've always been entrepreneurs. When I was in the corporate world, I pitched an idea for a dating app better targeted at women at Google. Then I created organizations for women expatriated professionals with some friends here. So I always had this how to say entrepreneurial mindset,
Yeah.
but I never particularly wanted to start my own business just to start my own business. I was pretty comfortable in the corporate world. But what happened is that, as I said, I moved from Orange to a smaller company during my time in Malaysia. And so I lost my job at the end of 2019 due to economic downturn. And so that was kind of a kick in the ass, so to speak. And I thought, just the idea of looking for another job in the corporate just made me feel very depressed and very sad. And I didn't know what organization I wanted to work for. So I really had to question myself because I've never been jobless, and I've always been working since I'm 19 years old. So, losing my job, like, it happened within 2 weeks. It was very, very sudden. And then having to turn back and being in a foreign country and thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? For me, it was just, how to say, it was just natural. It was like, well, that's destiny who's giving me that, because otherwise, if I start a new job now, or if I was staying in this company, why would I push myself, out of my comfort zone of this secure and stable situation? And so I was like, if I don't do it now, I will never do it. And it's just that based on my passion and what I wanted to do, I didn't know any organization that I could work for. So that's why I created my own.
Wow, I can completely resonate with what you're talking about, getting out of your comfort zone. We moved from South Africa to Dubai about 5 years ago, and then moved from Dubai to the Netherlands. And I have found that every time that I'm starting to stagnate or starting to get too comfortable, you almost get like that itch because you're getting used to change. And I feel like for me, it has helped me in a business sense to get used to change and be more adaptable. Have you found that in business that being adaptable is a good quality?
Oh yes, completely. But I would say, I've learned that not necessarily through entrepreneurship. I definitely think that that's a key quality and key ability to have when you're an entrepreneur. But I've learned that during my corporate career, just because of the different jobs that I've taken on and the different cultural context I was evolving. And so I was managing teams of over 20 people in different countries like India, Philippines, Singapore, Australia. So the agility and flexibility and adaptability and being able to change your management style and being able to adapt to different contexts, and that's something that I learned most when I moved to Asia, actually. And that's definitely helping me now that I start my own business. But I would say I learned that when I moved to Asia rather than when I started my own business.
Yeah. So I heard you talk a little bit earlier about that transition and thinking about going back to the corporate world and then kind of weighing the pros and cons. Um, what do you think? What do you think moving? What was one of your biggest hesitations to say, okay, you know what? Let's just put all of the eggs in the basket and just give this a shot. What was your biggest consideration to actually do that and not stay in the, I almost want to say, the safety net of having a full-time job and a full-time income each month?
Mm. Well, I would say the biggest fear was the financial stability. Obviously, I'm a single woman, and I don't have too much safety net. I don't have anyone I can rely on. Of course, I have my absolutely loving parents, and I know if I need anything, like, I could ask them.
Yeah.
I feel safe on that side, but still, I've never asked them money since, since I've started working. So taking that leap of faith was more like, I think my biggest hesitation was like, okay, now I'm on my own. And what I loved about the corporate world is that I've never been a big spender anyway. Like, I live quite simply, I guess. Well, I spend a lot of money on my bikes, actually, bikes and travels. Maybe I definitely spend money on experience, but I'm not so much of a materialistic person. So when I was in the corporate job, what I like is I just didn't count anything. Like, for me, I felt totally rich, because I knew I had, and I would never like check my accounts and things like. So I think my biggest hesitation was like, yeah, now I have to be careful, and I need to, spend wisely, and I cannot just spend as much as I want without thinking about it. This kind of peace of mind I had before on the financial side. So that was probably my biggest hesitation. Uh, but else, I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have, to be fair, I had a few emotional shocks as well that happened in the same time. So just a month after I lost my job, my one of my young cousin committed suicide, and that really, she was really young, 24 years old, and that really also kind of shocked me a lot, and also in terms of life and the choices that you make in life, and how important it is, to be good with yourself. So I don't know, in a way, it was like, I think when we face adversities and things that put us on the edge, we don't think so much. So I don't know, I didn't have much hesitation. Honestly, for me, starting my own company was just what I had to do.
Yeah. That's
I can't
amazing
explain. Yeah.
because I think there's so many people that feel like they have to do something. They have this urge to do something else, but they're too scared to take that leap. They're too scared to leave the stability of a job. And in your case, you were kind of pushed into what now feels like the right direction.
Yes, completely, completely. And but I feel it's a shame, and that's why also, I mean, we'll talk about that later, I guess, but that's also the reason why, in my company, with my company, it's a way, I'm using the motorcycling as a vehicle, but it's also a way for me to push people out of their comfort zone, and women in particular, before they don't have choice. Because, if I had pushed myself earlier, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any regret, because honestly, your path is your path, and that had to happen for me. I always say that what happened and me losing my job was a blessing in disguise. But I would say that it's a shame that sometimes we need to wait for drama, so to speak, or big adversity to happen to our life, so that we have this click in our head, and that we say, and we think, okay, now I want to do what I really love. Why do we need to wait for drama to happen and things to shake us before we actually take the step that we know is going to make us happy, you know?
Wow, that's really powerful. I absolutely love that you said that. Why do we need to wait for pain and adversity to actually push us to do what we love? Why aren't we driven to do what we love? We have one life to live and we might as well make the best of it. Tell me, I'm going to go just a little bit back because I want you to tell me and the audience a little bit more about two wheels to free will and how you do that. Help people get their free will back with your organization.
So basically, free W is so free W for woman, for wheel, and for wheels, like two wheels. And basically, the idea is to use motorcycling as a vehicle of emancipation and self empowerment. So basically, by giving the opportunity, I feel that a motorcycle is a little bit like life. A lot of people, and women in particular, they think that they cannot do it, or that it's too dangerous, or that they are not capable, or society will tell them it's not really a woman thing, it's more male dominated. And it's a bit like many things in life. And basically, when they try and when they learn, then they realize that they actually can. And that, I don't know, that just changed something in the mind. And suddenly they're like, okay, I can do that. Maybe I can do anything else. So, in more concrete words, what I provide is motorcycle training classes. So I teach women and men as well, if they want, how to learn motorcycles. I organize events as well, where women riders and aspiring riders can meet. Because I also believe that the people you yourself surround yourself with are very important in how brave you become to embrace your authentic life. So events and motorcycle tours as well. So day tours in Malaysia, but also tours in Iran, Nepal, Myanmar, and India. And the concept is to leverage on my women riders network in those countries, and leverage on local women to organize those tours and to experience the local way of life while they're traveling. So I have a whole range of products, I would say, around motorcycling. But the key driver is to provide an ecosystem for women riders and aspiring riders to connect and support each other and to experience motorcycling, to discover what they're capable of.
Yeah, wow. So tell me, what has been one of the best experiences that you've had um, since you've started your business?
I would say the one that gives me shivers and that, yeah, it's probably the best one is, so I during one of my events, there was a lady who won. We had a kind of raffle, and she won a motorcycle tour with me. So I took her on my Harley, and we did a 3 hours tour. So her name is Kulo. She's from Yemen, living in Malaysia, and she enjoyed it like crazy. And she was like, I love, it's my dream to ride a motorcycle. I've always dreamed to ride a motorcycle. I was like, why don't you come take classes? And she said, well, like I have a lot of financial responsibilities at the moment. I cannot really afford, but that's really one of my dreams. And then in parallel, I was chatting with my woman riders friends, and one of them, Stacy, told me, I really love your business ideas. If you ever crowdfund, please let me know. I'd love to invest. And I said, look, I'm not crowdfunding yet, but I have this woman who really would like to take classes, and I cannot afford to sponsor because I have costs. Would you be interested in sponsoring the class? Because, you hit
Wow.
two birds with one stone. And she said, yes, of course. And so she sent me the money straight away. I barely knew her. She's just part of the women writers community that I'm in. And she just sent me the money, and she sponsored 8 classes of Khulud. And it was Khulud's last class yesterday. And she told
Wow.
me, she explained me how it changed her life and how she realized that when she came the first time, she couldn't even ride a bicycle. She didn't have the balance. And now she's able to ride a motocross. And she told me, like, in terms of more psychological, empowerment, and how it changed her life, and how she realized that she used to be always negative and see the problems. And then by riding a motorcycle, she learned how to focus on the solutions, to look where she has to go, all those techniques to ride a motorcycle
Wow.
that are so applicable in her life. And she said that totally changed my life. So yeah, that's definitely the best thing. The best thing.
And that's something that you never think about. You just think about people riding their bicycles, but you don't think how it can change them psychological. And I think especially for a lot of females, they have so many responsibilities and they tend to take care of everyone else first, and first husband and then kids, or first kids and then husband, and then if there's anything less there left, then I will take care of me or do something that I like or I enjoy.
Yes.
But we do tend to be the carers in the family a lot of the times, and I think especially during COVID, it's a very important time to message for females to also say that you are also important and you need to take care of yourself as well, especially with a lot of people being at home, working from home. So a lot of the responsibility now falls on the females or the moms to keep everything kind of running smoothly, as you will say.
Yes, yes, totally, totally. And that's why sometimes it's difficult to explain because you really have to experience it. But all the women that have started riding with me, many of them told me it's better than meditation, because they have fun and they are concentrated on this activity where they cannot think about anything else. And they can express themselves, they
And you
can
can't
be.
be on your phone, right?
Exactly, exactly. And they can express their energy, they can be themselves, they can, Hulu told me, she said, motorcycling, and she told me something that was quite powerful. She said, motorcycling made me meet another person I had in myself.
Oh, that's
you
amazing.
know so and it's the case for many women that I'm teaching, and some will just take a few classes and just think, oh, that was cool, and they will try something else, and that will encourage to do something else. Some, they will just love it, and take their riding license and they will buy a motorbike, and some they are already riders but they just want to travel with fellow women. So it's just part of it's part of an overall journey. But I totally agree with you, like self-care is so important. And in Asia in particular, I feel, especially all the topics of mental health, we always talk about women empowerment, and it's a very strong topic here. And so pushing women in the corporate world and so on, but we don't necessarily talk about, yeah, this well-being. Like, how do you do that while also preserving your
Yeah.
well-being and your mental health, and
And
not
it's,
being crazy busy and not having a life. And so when they start, the first step, when they start taking some time for themselves and saying, okay, I take 2 hours for myself, I'm going to ride a bike, or I'm going to meet some women riders and like different women, and that's already a first step.
yeah, do something for you.
Yeah.
And something that sets your heart on fire, something that brings out that inner child again. Um,
Yes, exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to shift the conversation just a little bit to our audience, because I know in the audience there's a lot of people that are probably in the corporate world and they want to move over to having their own business, or they are stay-at-home moms and they're like, I want that something extra. I want that something else. So from a business perspective, what advice can you give to someone that hasn't started yet? What's that first step to get them there?
Well, I think what's really important is to start with the end in mind, and make sure of why you want to do it. Sometimes we tend to think to idealize the entrepreneur's journey, and especially millennials, the digital nomad life, and I have a laptop and I build my company with the 4 hours work week on the beach and so on. And some people might have these in mind, and it can be like quite daunting if it's not happening. So I would say, like, really ask yourself why you are interested. Why do you want to start your own business? So is it because you don't want to have a boss? Is it because you're passionate about something, and it doesn't exist? Is it because you want to make more money, or you want to change the world? Because obviously the solutions to that can be very different. You can still change the world by maybe being in a corporate, or you can still be your own boss by being a freelance and not necessarily building a company. So,
Yes.
do you want to be a freelance, or do you want to build a business? Those are different things. Uh, I really like the concept as well of ikigai. I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah.
So it's a Japanese concept that means a reason for being. So if you can check it out, it's very
I'll
interesting, and
definitely
I
do
often
that.
look at it. So basically, it says that if you do something that you love and that you're good at, it's a passion. If you do something that you love and that the world needs, it's a mission. If you do something that the world needs and that you can be paid for, that's a vocation. And if you do what you're good at and what you can be paid for, that's a profession. And basically, finding the ikigai is the sweet spot between all those things. Doing what you love, what the world needs, what you can pay for, and what you're good at. So I think
Because
it's
a
a,
lot of people, yeah, because a lot of people get stuck in between that. They glamorize and they think they just want the business, but maybe that isn't even the right path for you. Maybe you should just do freelance, or maybe you should keep your corporate job and just find a company like yours and just do something on the side that
yeah.
will light that fire again and just make you feel alive.
Yes, yes. So that would be one of the advice. I would also say, know yourself. So I was lucky enough when I started my business, it was the beginning of the pandemic. So basically, I was locked down in my home on my own for months. So that kind of helped me a little bit to reflect before I started my business. So list down what you love to do, what you're good at, where you want to improve, what you would need to outsource. So I think it's very important to know yourself and what work environment you need to set up for yourself. So again, for me, for example, I thought I was really good working at home, but that was when I was in the corporate world and when I had meeting all the time, and when I was traveling 1 week out of two. But now that I'm an entrepreneur, working out of home for me is a nightmare. So, I think that's important, knowing yourself, and then subsequently surround yourself with the right people. That for me is
So
so much
important.
important. And it's not only, of course, like if you can build a team, if you have the means to build a team, great, I'd love to have that. But it's not solely about skills or knowledge. What I mean is more people who will support you emotionally when you have a rough patch and when you have doubts and you're like, why am I doing that again? Or, oh my God, this is too difficult. Maybe I should stop. Or, and somebody who is able to show you what you have achieved. And so and that you ask for help, learn to ask for help and surround yourself with the right people. That I think is really one of the most important thing when starting your business. Then you said be flexible, definitely, and I think that's quite common. Be flexible and fail fast. Again, when we start our own business, I used to be in, as I said, in sales. I was regional director, but my background is more into business to business sales, and I realized that selling others and selling yourself are totally different games.
Two different things.
So yeah, so we become very self-conscious, and so I think it's important, like when you start, before you start, don't forget to list your successes. Don't forget, and if you don't have any, and if it's not going anywhere, then fail fast and start something else. So I think that's important. And the last advice I would give, that I put on my wall every month, is don't forget to have fun. So that's probably linked to my own values, but I feel, especially when you start your own company, and especially if it's out of a passion, when the money side comes into play, it can easily becomes a burden, you know. And for me, my worst nightmare is doing this company and that it becomes a burden for me. So every week, I make sure that I record all those moments that I love about doing my business. And maybe I will have 3 days where I need to do social media marketing and I do admin and finance and things that I hate doing. But then I make sure that, then I will have 2 or 3 days where I give motorcycle classes. Then, and it bumps me up and I'm like, okay, I know why I do that. So,
That's very
it's
clever.
really important.
Plan your
Yeah.
week and your month to have fun in between.
Always, like every week, try to list down what you loved doing, because our mind, our brain is made in a way that we always focus on the negative. And so it's very easy, especially when you're on your own, to see, what didn't work or what was difficult or the stress you had or whatever. So, taking this as a habit, or every week listing down your successes or all the little pleasure moments you had, is really like one of the key advice I would give, because as an entrepreneur, you need to keep on the distance, you need to sustain it, so you need to be resilient. And so yeah, don't forget to have fun.
Wow, that is absolutely jam-packed. I absolutely love this last question and answer. I don't even think we can get better than that. So I think we should wrap it up from here. But that was absolutely amazing. I'm going to have to rewatch this and make all of the notes on the side. But wow, Alison, I have learned so much, and I'm sure that everyone listening will also take notes and make sure that they enjoy the ride, whether that's to entrepreneurship or to the corporate world or whatever they choose. Last question from my side. If people want to know more about your business, how can they get in contact with you if they're not in Kuala Lumpur? How can they interact or be a part of this? Um, yeah.
Sure. So I have a website. So it's freew.co. And then I have all the social media handles as well, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. But they can certainly contact me on Alison at freew.co if they are interested to know more. And yeah, on the website, there are also all my social media handles.
And I'll make sure to post all of the links in the description. And this will also be on social media. So I'll make sure to tag you and all of that. So if any one of you want to contact Alison, please do so. Send her a message. Give us some feedback of what you thought, and if you also enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thank you so much, Alison, and thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Lindy. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.